The call came at 2:17 in the morning, the kind of hour when the world is silent and your past feels louder than your present. My phone vibrated against the wooden nightstand, and for a moment I thought I was dreaming. But when I saw her name glowing on the screen after 3 years of silence, my chest tightened like someone had reached inside and squeezed my heart without mercy. I hadn't heard from her since the day she walked out of my life, since the day we decided love wasn't enough to survive our pride. Before I even answered, I knew something was wrong. People don't break years of silence at 2 a.m. to say hello. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, take a moment right now to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who still believes in love, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes life gives us another opportunity to do what we couldn't before. Her voice wasn't the same. It wasn't the confident, fiery voice I remembered. It trembled. It broke. It sounded like someone standing at the edge of a cliff with nowhere left to step. She told me there was a baby. She told me the baby was mine. She told me he was dying. And then she said something that drained every ounce of air from my lungs. The doctors said he needed my blood within 6 hours or he wouldn't survive the night. For a moment, I couldn't move. My mind replayed the night we broke up. The shouting. The accusations. The slammed door. I had accused her of not trusting me. She had accused me of choosing work over us. We were both stubborn, both hurting, both too proud to apologize first. I never knew she was pregnant. She never told me. I drove through empty streets with shaking hands, the city lights blurring through tears I didn't realize were falling. The hospital stood tall and cold against the night sky, its white walls glowing under fluorescent lights. Inside, everything smelled like antiseptic and fear. Nurses rushed past me. Machines beeped in distant rooms. Every sound felt like a ticking clock counting down the seconds of a life I didn't even know existed until now. She was sitting outside the pediatric intensive care unit when I saw her. She looked smaller than I remembered, fragile, like the weight of the world had been pressing down on her for months. Her hair was tied back messily, dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her hands trembled as she clutched a hospital bracelet. When our eyes met, time didn't rewind. It shattered. There was no anger left in me. No pride. Just one question pounding in my chest: where is my son? She led me through double doors into a room filled with soft mechanical sounds. And there he was. Tiny. Pale. Connected to wires and tubes that looked too heavy for his fragile body. His chest rose and fell in uneven breaths. A nurse adjusted a machine beside him, and I noticed how small his fingers were, curled slightly as if holding onto something invisible. He had my eyes. That realization hit me harder than anything she had said. I had missed his first cry. His first smile. His first birthday. I had missed every moment because two adults couldn't swallow their pride. And now I was standing here, a stranger to my own child, with only 6 hours to decide whether I was worthy of being called his father. The doctor explained quickly. A rare blood disorder. Complications. An emergency transfusion needed. They had tested the mother, but she wasn't a match. They had tested stored donors. None were compatible in time. Then she had told them about me. Same rare blood type. The only immediate match. As they prepared me for testing, memories flooded back like a cruel movie montage. The way she used to laugh at my terrible jokes. The way we would talk about the future, about kids with her smile and my stubbornness. We had once painted a spare bedroom in my apartment, joking that one day it would be a nursery. We had never imagined that dream would exist without me knowing. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to demand why she hid it. But when I looked through the glass at my son, fighting for every breath, none of that mattered. Pride is a heavy thing, but guilt is heavier. The tests confirmed it. I was a perfect match. They led me to a reclining chair beside his bed. Tubes connected my arm to a machine that would carry part of me into him. As the blood began to flow, I felt something shift inside my chest. It wasn't just biology. It was responsibility. It was love that had been waiting silently, unknowingly, for 3 years. She stood on the other side of the room, watching us both. I could see regret written across her face. Later, she would explain that she found out she was pregnant a week after our breakup. She tried calling me, but by then I had moved to another city for work, and my number had changed. She told herself I had chosen a new life. She didn't want to force a child into a situation filled with resentment. She thought she was protecting everyone. Instead, she carried the burden alone. She worked 2 jobs. She missed sleep. She sold the ring I once gave her to pay hospital bills when he first got sick. She never reached out because she believed I deserved freedom. But freedom without knowing you have a son isn't freedom. It's ignorance. As my blood continued to flow, I watched color slowly return to his cheeks. The machine's beeping softened. The nurse gave a small nod that felt like a fragile hope forming in the darkness. I reached out carefully and touched his tiny hand. His fingers wrapped weakly around mine. That small grip changed everything. In that moment, I understood something I had never understood before. Love isn't just about romance, about late-night talks and shared dreams. It's about showing up when it's hardest. It's about giving without calculating the cost. It's about staying. The hours crawled by like years. I felt lightheaded, but I refused to close my eyes. I needed to see him. I needed to memorize the curve of his nose, the softness of his skin, the way his chest rose more steadily with each passing minute. I whispered promises in my heart that I would never disappear again. By the 5th hour, the doctor returned with cautious optimism. His vitals were stabilizing. The transfusion was working. They would need to monitor him closely, but the immediate danger was fading. When the machine finally stopped and the tubes were removed, I felt physically drained but emotionally awakened. I had walked into that hospital as a man haunted by a past relationship. I was leaving that room as a father. She approached slowly, tears streaming down her face. There were no grand speeches. Just raw, unfiltered regret. She apologized for not telling me. I apologized for not trying harder to find her when we broke up. We both admitted our pride had cost us years we could never get back. But as we stood there watching our son breathe on his own, we realized something powerful. The past may steal time, but it doesn't have to steal the future. Over the next few days, I barely left the hospital. I learned how to change his diapers, how to hold him without disturbing the 4 lines, how to read the subtle signs of discomfort in his tiny expressions. I listened to stories about his first steps, his favorite lullaby, the way he liked to squeeze her finger before falling asleep. Each story was a reminder of what I had missed, but also an invitation to be part of what was still to come. When he finally opened his eyes fully and looked at me, it felt like forgiveness without words. The doctors said he would recover fully with proper treatment. It wouldn't be easy. There would be more hospital visits, more precautions, more careful monitoring. But he would live. And sometimes, that is the greatest miracle of all. Weeks later, I moved back to the city. Not for her. Not out of guilt. But for him. We started slowly, carefully rebuilding something that wasn't just about romance anymore. We attended doctor appointments together. We shared responsibilities. We learned how to communicate without letting ego take control. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight, but shared love for a child is a powerful foundation. One evening, as I held him in my arms at home, watching the sunset paint soft colors across the sky, I realized how close I had come to never knowing this feeling. 6 hours had stood between life and death. 6 hours had stood between me and fatherhood. 6 hours had given me a second chance. If this story has touched your heart in any way, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder that it's never too late to show up, and subscribe for more stories that inspire hope. And before we reach the end, I have a special request. Comment the word second chance if you believe love deserves another opportunity when life gives us one. Because sometimes, the most powerful transformations don't happen in grand romantic gestures. They happen in hospital rooms at 2 a.m., in silent promises made beside fragile cribs, in blood flowing from one heart to another. I don't know what the future holds for us. Maybe we'll rebuild our relationship completely. Maybe we'll simply become the best co-parents we can be. But I do know this, I will never miss another birthday. I will never ignore another call. I will never let pride steal what love is trying to give. That night taught me that being a father isn't about being present from the beginning. It's about choosing to stay when it matters most. It's about giving your strength when someone smaller than you needs it. It's about understanding that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's courage. As I watch my son sleep peacefully now, free from tubes and machines, I often think about how fragile life is. How quickly everything can change. How one phone call can rewrite your entire story. 6 hours once felt like a countdown to tragedy. Instead, they became the beginning of redemption. And every time I look into his eyes, the same eyes staring back at me in the mirror, I am reminded that sometimes, love hides in silence, waits through heartbreak, survives distance, and returns when you least expect it. Not to punish you for the past, but to give you a second chance at becoming who you were always meant to be.